Hello, everyone. I'm starting off on YouTube here, learning how to do my videos. My videos are going to concentrate mostly around inspirational, a lot of Christian content, and definitely a lot of spiritual content as to the way things work in and around the world, the way we see things, and the way we think we see things, and the fact that the world as we know it, this physical world, is governed by invisible factors. Uh, People say, how is it invisible? Well, your thoughts are invisible. The very stuff that comes out of your mouth is invisible, yet you can hear, yet you can see. But what we consider to be senses are only our perceptions, basically. My first video I'm going to deal with and talk about is Superman and kryptonite. Now, Superman, let me backtrack a little. Superman, kryptonite, and the familiar. Now, if you know the story of Superman, way back in his familiar, when he was a baby and when he came from Krypton, it was normal for him to have something called kryptonite in the environment, and it never harmed him. When he moved away and he was transported to Earth, that as he grew, he became Superman. Now, on his planet, he was a Superman. What his abilities were? They were were simple. How can I put it? Was natural over there. But when he came to Earth, or he was sent to Earth as a baby, his abilities became supernatural, Superman, in another environment, because that environment was not used to, or was conducive to where he came from. Anyways, he grew up. Um, he 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 basically grew into the super person that he was meant to be. As he grew into that super person, he learned how to operate within a normal world, which was not normal to him, but in their normal world. So Earth and the people saw him and his powers as super. And he went about doing good. He went about performing amazing things. But for him, it was natural. Until one day, his people who studied him discovered that there was something that could make him weak, would make him become natural again, even in their lesser than environment. So every time they introduced kryptonite to him, it made him weak. And it made him weak where he became a normal person, a lesser person within the world he was in, even though his natural abilities was not like them. And when he removed kryptonite, he became supernatural, superhuman, Superman again. The same thing applies to our lives in general, that the familiar of our lives are going to be our kryptonite. Much of what we do in our lives, much of where we go, much of what we become, the familiar is going to follow us. And that some people come from really good families. They come from amazing familiar backgrounds where their backgrounds were charged with power. And the people who know them the most, the ones who loved them the most, the ones who gave them, who contributed to their upbringing, their life force, also became their powerful ally. So it was natural for them to become super in a natural world. And they were able to excel. They were able to become greater than others. And you know, people like to go around in life and they talk about something like, you're better than that person. I've come to believe that supernatural people are not better than others. They're becoming better than others, which means that in a world that really conducts itself depending upon where you come from, it's abnormal, it's dysfunctional, it comes from very unnatural places. And some people learn to just accept where they are. And we live in I'm being careful saying this, but we live in a world with a lot of sickness. People are not well mentally. They're not haven't been trained to be well. They haven't been trained to become better. And we live in a world where some people go away to become healed. So when they can say things like, I become better than you, they become healed. They become better. They're now healthy. They're functional. And they're able to relate even to the supernatural world, the invisible world that has a lot of rules and principles that are conducting a specific type of information, and its flow is consistently flowing. Now, God, who created everything, one thing he said in the book of Genesis, he says, and everything produced after its own kind. And this rule and principle is completely, it basically it explains so much. Because if you look at people and you look at environments and everything does produce after its own kind. People learn and they grow and they become based upon their familiar, getting back to familiar. Now, some people who come from environments that are not good, they're not healthy, those people will have their enemies, and their enemies are directly in their family, even things they carry inside of them. When they come into an environment that's abnormal, the kryptonite weakens them. Their familiar weakens them. So where I'm going with a bit with kryptonite is really your familiar. What is your kryptonite? What actually is conducting your familiar? Whether it be you come from a really good environment, and that kryptonite, every time you meet up with somebody who's just like you in a super way, you find that you just like, boom, it just basically propels you in something really good. And then there's other people who come from bad environments. And all it takes is something of the same kind that comes into their environment, even though they may be leveling up, they basically bring, boom, drops them right back down. And that's their kryptonite. For one person, kryptonite is a good thing. For another person, it isn't. And it's all based upon the familiar. Getting back to this, what is your kryptonite? What is your familiar? Most of the time, we as human beings like to believe that we have so changed, we've so become better, but we're really just consistently learning. And the majority of the time that we're learning is that we need to relearn. We need to redirect all the directions, the things that have been placed inside of us, the directives. You know, for the most part, people have their map that is like a compass, is like a GPS set up within them. Your parents, you know, the Bible says that train up a child in the way they should go, and when they're old, they shall not depart from it. That is real powerful in how can I put it? It's a legal aspect. It's an indicative. It is like, it pretty well is an indicator of what's going to happen in your life. And sometimes, actually, a lot of times, if you're growing in your life, you really have to go back and get things settled. Be reparented even by life itself as it teaches you. Because as I said, that God creates everything. He created everything good. So it's for you to actually have good become, and you become into that good, you have to be changed for the better. So I'm going to leave my video at that. It's one of my first videos. So I'm learning to articulate and come a little more clear and flow. And I hope this first video, if you've watched it, makes some level of sense. And I'd like to get some, your comments and inspirations. And I'd like you to subscribe too, and thumbs up. And you all have a good day. Bye now.